Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Life, Music, and Everything Else. I am your host, Sin, and today is a very special podcast. I'm excited about this podcast. Help me find a good Alyson word for being excited about a podcast.
Woo woo!
All right, so that's what we're going to use.
We're hopping about this podcast.
Hopping about this podcast. Introduce yourself to him, Alyson.
Hi, I'm Alyson. That's a lame introduction.
Yeah, you gotta be more. You gotta let them know you.
Let them know me. I'm Alyson.
Alyson from around the way. Let them know.
Alyson with one L and one Y. There's my good introduction. Now you know my name and how to spell it.
That's pretty good. That's a lot of information. Me and Alyson work together. I'm her cameraman. She's my reporter, and that's how we met, right?
Yeah, that is how we met.
Yeah, that's how we met. The title was, we have a new, you know how stuff is when you're in a new workplace. Everybody says, oh, we have a new girl, and they have the title. And so we was like, the title was, we have a new girl, she's Mormon.
Oh, yeah. I think that's pretty obvious from my Instagram, and when you only know someone's name, the first thing you do, the new person's coming, we got to look them up on the gram, see who they are. That's what they know.
Word spreads around, and I'm like, what is Mormon? So, like, that's the base of what we're going to talk about today, because we did have a really good conversation months ago. You really enlightened me on your faith, your life, everything about what you believe.
I'm glad.
And I didn't find it controversial at all. I had a couple head scratches, but
we did get a couple of those.
So my whole thing was the when I thought Mormon, I thought covered up from head to toe, quiet, secluded, antisocial.
All typical things that people think.
All typical things, yes.
Did you get the multiple wives?
I got that. I got the multiple
that one's
wives.
in there.
Yes, I got that. Awkward. Like my whole thing was like, how we going to work together? Because I'm just thinking about me. I'm not loud, but I'm kind of like, I make a little noise, and I'm like, hopefully I'm not intimidated to it, this and that. And then when we worked together, it was like completely opposite of everything that I thought from the first couple of days. And then the moment, the McGee moment was, you probably know, we'll talk about that later. I'll tell y'all the McGee moment that I had with her, that she was just like, oh yeah, this girl is awesome. Like, she's like the best. But let's get...
Was it at Claremore High School?
It was at Claremore High School.
Okay, I know what it is.
That was the McGee moment that I was like, wait, hold on. Everything that I thought was completely different. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the stereotype was completely false. So let's just start by talking about your faith. How was you introduced to it?
How is that? So my parents have both grown up members of the church, so I was kind of fortunate in that I didn't have to find it myself in a way. It was how I was raised. Yeah. But I do like to tell people, I used to get a lot of the whole, then you were just, what do they always say? The sheep following the shepherd, that you just went with your parents' church. My church asks a lot of its members. It is not an easy church to follow.
I see. I definitely see that.
You can't stay in the church I'm 25 on Monday, so you can't stay in the church for as long as I have without knowing for yourself, how you feel about it and what you believe.
You about to be 25. Happy early birthday.
Woo woo.
Yes, Life Music people. We want to wish Alyson a happy birthday. So, I think that's big to say that, because, a lot of people, especially Christians, I was introduced to the religion from my grandmother. You know what I'm saying? So, a lot of people assume, oh, you only doing that because your grandmother introduced you to this, or you only Democrat because you was raised this way. So, it's to find your own in it, I think is really important.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To find your own and why you believe in it for you, not for your parents. So what was that moment for you?
Oh, I've had a few of them. I think in the church they love to use the example of the sunrise, and that for a lot of people their belief in the church comes much less like turning on the light where you were dark and then suddenly it was light, and much more like a sunrise where it's come over time. But I just remember having a few different experiences, and one of them I remember, I was in high school and I went to a summer camp that didn't have anything to do with the church. It was put on by a school group, and I might have been the only person that was a member of my church there. We didn't start with a prayer, and there was no church music being sung. And I remember feeling the love of God so strongly that, like, I will never forget that. And I just knew that he was there and that he loved me and he loved everybody and that there was a plan for us. And then I remember thinking, this is so weird because I'm not at church. Like, how can I feel that so strongly with when, like, we didn't start with the prayer and there weren't all of these church things going on? And that has really kind of, like, been a focal point of my belief in God and in my church, is that you can feel that love anywhere. It's constant and eternal. So you don't only feel it at church, and you don't only feel it when you start with the prayer, but that's always there. But that was really one of those moments growing up that I was all like, whoa. When all those people at church keep telling you, oh, yeah, God loves you. And you're like, sure. That, like, I knew, oh, yeah, he really does.
Now, when you say that, like, it makes me think back to, like, being young and in the church. Like, I think we had this conversation, but you look at the elders and the older people in the church, you look at them almost as like they're the closest thing to God that, you know, being young and not understanding that you're going to see. So for me, what happened was I would start to see these people outside of church, you know, and I start to wonder, Deacon so-and-so, he isn't, you know, suited up in just regular. He with another woman that isn't Mrs. Johnson, and he's smoking it, and so it messed my mind up as a little kid because I looked so highly to the people that was in the church. But I think that was when I started to realize we are men. We're not God. So I'm looking to them for something that I can only find from God. So that kind of threw me off of religion a little bit, and I recovered, but it was a hard blow, because I started to put faith and put all this trust in men, and when I got let down, I didn't understand. Like, was that ever something that you saw, like, in your church? You know what I'm saying? As a young person looking up to...
Oh, yeah. I don't know that I have had, like, a specific instance where I had someone who, I guess, failed me in some ways or whatever, but it's one of the common criticisms of the church is things will come out about people that have done bad things. And they're like, oh, they're a member of that church, and so that church is... And we love to always say God's perfect, and I think God's gospel is perfect, and my church is run by a whole bunch of imperfect people here on earth that go out and they make mistakes and they, you know, do all sorts of crazy things that probably you shouldn't do. But they aren't God, and they are just here on earth involved in his church, but the church isn't going to be perfect because it's run and attended by a whole bunch of imperfect people.
Yeah. I think if people see that, they'll be more, understand that, they'll be more willing to approach it instead of feeling like, oh, I'm going to be so judged by the way that I am and this and that. And I think that's one of the best things about the church, my church, I'm sure your church as well, is that being welcome with open arms. Like, that changes everything. Like, when you come to the door and people, like, greet you, they don't even look. You know how sometimes somebody new, you kind of give them that up and down, like, you want to fill them out. They don't even do that. They just come up to you, embrace you, hug you, say welcome. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's churches do that. Welcome new members, please. Don't be like it's the thing with the black people. I'm gonna tell you this, like, finding a new barbershop is like one of the worst things. Like, I hate going to a new barbershop because you go in there and each barber got their own their customers that they stick with. They don't really like cutting new hair. So you literally just sitting there waiting for a barber to say, all right, I'll take you. And then when the dude finally take you, he can't cut. So it's just like, man, it's the worst feeling. Churches, don't be like that. Embrace the new members, embrace the congregation, embrace all people. Now,
in my church, it's the pews.
The pews, what is that?
Like the benches in the chapel where you attend church. Every family, these families have been going to this same building for years and years, and every family has like their pew. So suddenly you're visiting and you're going to a different church building and you're like, oh no, I'm going to sit in someone's pew. And there's no assigned seating. It's not like they have any like hold on that pew. But even now, I could draw you a whole diagram of my church building back in Arizona
Really?
and tell you, so-and-so sits here and this is where so-and-so sits and this
Every
is where
Sunday.
so-and-so. Every Sunday they sit the same spot. So then when you visit, and it's like having to find the new barber where you're like, oh no, which pew am I going to sit in? And am I going to steal someone else's pew?
And someone walks down the aisle.
So no one can steal your pew. If it's not an assigned seat and your name's not on it, anyone can sit anywhere and it all is the same.
But wait. So say if I come in there and I sit down in this pew, do people like, this is my, like, do they just sit somewhere else?
Oh, they'll just sit somewhere else.
But they looking at
But
you.
then
the
they'll
whole
be
time.
whispering to each other, and they're like, who is that person sitting in our pew? And then it's obvious that you're visiting or that you're
Yeah.
new because, like, you wouldn't have sat in McCaffrey's
God.
pew if you didn't, like...
Why is this so, like, why sit at the same, like, sit somewhere different? Like,
No,
why?
humans are creatures of habit. And the base of, if you have, like, the parking spot that you normally park in...
But that's
The
for,
ones with little kids like to sit in the back, so if they start crying and they gotta leave. My mom likes to sit in the middle because it's the best spot to get under the fan.
But okay, middle. So, but middle, the exact spot that mom sits all the time. The exact.
Oh yeah, there's benches, and then and we call them pews, and each family just has their bench.
But like, if I'm thinking pews,
And they're different sizes. So the bigger families have like the bigger benches.
Okay, all right, that's what I'm. That's
The
what I'm
smaller
thinking.
families take like the smaller
Okay.
pews.
That's what I'm thinking. Like our church, we had like our pews was long from like wall to wall pews where 20 people can sit down and just be next to each other.
We're
That's
less
what
that.
I'm
Having
thinking.
said that, people in the church, we got big families.
Yeah. Well, okay,
We
let's
got
get
10
on that.
kids.
Let's get
You
on
need
that.
the 20-person pew there.
Let's get on that because I know everybody wants to know and I want to know. So multiple wives.
Not a thing.
It's not.
It's totally not a thing. Now we're going to give a clarification here.
All right,
The
please
church name of the quote-unquote Mormon church, we don't really use the word Mormon anymore, is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Okay.
Now, at the very beginning of the church, back in the 1800s when it was started, a group broke off and called themselves the RLDS Church, Reformed Latter-day Saints. So I belong to the LDS Church. That's the big one. We've got, 16 million members or something. Then there's a much smaller one that's the RLDS Church. They have multiple wives.
Have multiple wives.
And like the TLC show, Sister Wives,
Yeah.
about the RLDS Church.
Oh.
But when someone says RLDS, the R kind of gets lost. It almost sounds like they are LDS, and then they're like, no, they're not LDS. We only have one wife.
Wow.
Multiple wives, not good.
Now,
But we get this rap because they are
That's what I'm
associated kind of loosely with the church, and they have multiple wives.
now, how does that feel like to know that people are being? I wouldn't want to say misled because they feel that what they're doing is right, but from what you know and you know the history well of what the history is and where they are now, how do you feel like when you interact with them or when you come across them or talk to them? Do you like kind of look at them a little different and like you guys are like the bootleg version?
I've never met one.
You've never met one?
I know, they're very small.
Oh wow!
Like very small. I've never met one.
Not even in your hometown.
Oh no.
Wow.
I've never met
So-
one anywhere. They're kind of like, I don't know.
So
I feel like I can't call them a unicorn, like I'm going to get in trouble, but real rare if you met one, that would have been exciting.
how would you know? Like if you met one, but they'll have to tell you I'm a RLS.
Yeah, well, they would tell, they all have multiple wives. I
So
feel
that
like
would
you
be
would
like-
know if like an RLDS person lived in your town.
What if it's just a family of brothers and sisters or something? But like, are they like ducked like the whole camp thing? Are they like far away with their own little families and
I think
this and
so.
that?
I think there's a few in Utah, like where kind of a lot of church members live in my church.
Yeah.
I think there's also quite a few members of the RLDS church, but I personally
Never met.
have never met any
So
of them.
why is Utah just known for polygamy? Like when people say Utah, Wyoming, they just say multiple wives. The guys is just ducked off with 14, 15 wives.
Oh, yeah.
Why is
Well, there's a few different reasons.
I'm
First
interested.
reason, the church started with polygamy. Not started with polygamy, but when the church first started, polygamy was being practiced. Then polygamy ended in America. The country as a whole stopped practicing polygamy. And our church, and it kind of leads to like this really cool belief in our church that I think makes us different from other Christian churches, that sets us apart, is that I believe that God is communicating actively right now today with the leader of my church, President Nelson. We call him a prophet. He is directing the church, but with what God wants us to know. So we read the Bible, study the Bible, love the Bible, but we practice what God is currently asking us to do. And so they had polygamy, and then God told them to stop. And I don't know all the details.
Yeah.
Sometimes that bothers people. It doesn't bother me. God had it for a purpose for a little
then
bit, and then God stopped it.
So
And that's when then they broke off. The
to the
RLDS
reform.
church left because they were like, well, wait a minute. We don't want you telling us that I can't have multiple wives. And
So how do you,
left.
I guess you back it up scripture wise and what the Bible says, but like I would be that person to say, look, like this is what God had initially, and now all of a sudden you're changing it. Like how do you? I wouldn't feel as if I was doing anything wrong if I knew initially this is where it originated from.
Well,
You know
and
what
I
I
think
mean?
that's why it's cool that, like, I believe that God's directing us right now because polygamy exists in the Bible. It existed at some points, but that right now God doesn't want us doing that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if He'll never want us to do it. I have no idea because I am not God and I don't know everything, but He does. And I totally believe that if He wanted us to, He would tell the prophet, and we would. But right now He doesn't want us to, and I just kind of have faith and trust that, like, for this point in time, that isn't what God wants us to do.
Okay.
But the RLDS people were mad. But Utah especially has that rap because the Mormons were driven out of every state. Up until like 5 years ago, it was legal in Missouri to like kill a Mormon. Like that was still
What?
in their law. We were some of the most persecuted group, and they killed thousands of us innocently just because they hated Mormons. So started in Palmyra, New York, moved to Nauvoo, we've been all over the eastern United States trying to find a place that we could live in. Every place that the Mormons set up, Kirtland, Ohio, and Nauvoo, Illinois were kind of the big ones where we built full temples. And then these militias and these mobs and these armies would just kill everybody and ran them off.
That's
And the
insane.
government wasn't doing anything to help us or protect us. So we ended up leaving. And we call it the pioneers, and we study it like way in depth in the church. Our ancestors, and walked from Nauvoo, Illinois to Salt Lake City, Utah in wagons and on their own feet, and thousands of them died along the trail. Like the winter and all of those things, the Martin and Willie handcart companies especially are two of the big groups that didn't have any wagons. They were so poor. They were the poorest of the poor. They just went with handcarts where they pulled their own belongings, and they had to leave almost everything
From there to
Illinois to Utah. So
wow.
across all those mountains, and the Martin and Willie handcart companies, that's what we call them. Those were the leaders of those two handcart companies, Martin and Willie. And they left a little bit later than they were supposed to. It was, I think, taking them longer to build their handcarts, and got caught in a winter storm in the Rocky Mountains, and so many of them died, and it's so tragic, and it was because they were all being murdered. But we had to leave. Utah wasn't part of the United States yet, and it was the first place that we weren't being killed.
So that's
Nobody
why.
else lived in Utah. We had to leave what was America because America wasn't helping us, and like go run away in essence just to protect ourselves, like flee. So we fled to Utah and then settled in Utah. The only people pretty much living in Utah at the time were like the Indians that were living in there, and then the Mormons that came over from Nauvoo. That's why Utah is so prevalently Mormon, and then the people that broke off for the RLDS church, they're in Utah.
You know, one thing that I really like love about you and respect about you is that you know the history of this. So like anytime I ask you a question, you like go in depth and you start pulling. You're like a walking documentary.
All
You
about
just
the
pull
yeah.
up all this stuff, and it's like you can tell very well. It's not just something that your parents forced upon you. Here, this is what you like. You're really into it. Like this is your life. This is, you know what I'm saying. Like,
Well,
and
in a
you
lot
can-
of ways, like that's my heritage. Like I
Yeah.
know my grandparents were converts to the church on my dad's side and whatnot. So not necessarily a bunch of my ancestors, although I do have ancestors that were pioneers, but like members of the church, like those are my people. And I guess you feel the same way about like slavery and things like that. I really felt that, you know,
yeah.
like that's your heritage and this is my
that's
heritage,
right.
and it's important to me that I know it, that I can be, I guess in a lot of ways, like respectful of it. The sacrifice that they made, and part of my testimony, I guess my faith in my church is based off of, I read these stories of these people that sacrificed everything. And I have had to sacrifice in comparison like so little. And sometimes when I think like, oh, God is asking a lot of me right now, because I do. I think God asks a lot of the members of his church. And then I think he is not asking me to walk from Illinois to Utah. I'm probably fine.
That just being in that perspective alone will change. Like if people could think back, or if my people could think, wow, I wasn't even able to sit here on this couch with you and have this conversation, it'll make you, just being in that perspective will make you appreciate and say, okay, I'm gonna work hard. Okay, I'm gonna look at things totally different. Like, so when people think discipline, this whole hard grind, it's not discipline to you. It's just a lifestyle. It's the way that you live, the way that you want to live. You know what I mean? So like, hats off to you. Hopefully we answered the polygamy thing, because
it's not a thing.
It's not a thing.
If you think that you meet a Mormon with multiple wives, they're not. They're something else.
And that's called a reform.
Like the Reformed Latter-day Saints.
The Reformed Latter-day Saints.
Or maybe just something else.
Something else.
But not us.
See, you know, I didn't know that. I really didn't know that. So, what are they churches called?
I think they're the RLDS. I think that's what they call themselves.
So, another question that's going to break off of that I thought of.
Okay, next one.
That you was saying. Now you said with the prophet is that if God was to speak to him and give him something about, okay, this is the way we need to move to, or this is the direction we need to go. How you are now, how you were raised now, how you were brought up now, the way that you live now and respect the way life is now. If the prophet was to get instructions or a message from God to say to convert back to that way, how difficult would that be?
Oh, this is one of the questions that I think, like, as church members, we kind of jokingly ask ourselves all the time. Every 6 months, the first weekend of October and the first weekend of April, we have a church-wide conference. So general conference comes up in October, and then everyone kind of says, right, if they announced at general conference that we couldn't have chocolate, if they announced at general conference that we all had to learn a different language, if we all kind of joke around with each other, right? Like, could we do it? And I guess, I would love to say yes. Having said that, I haven't actually yet been put in the position where I had to, specifically give something up. But in a lot of ways, the things that they ask us to do, and some of them are little, but last October, they asked us to read the whole Book of Mormon, which is one of the books of Scripture that we read, till by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. So you're talking long.
Wow.
Bible-type Scripture here, not easy to read, from October to December. Mm-hmm. And that was difficult. And I was like, no way, Jose, am I going to read this whole thing. This is like an hour of reading a day. And I love scripture study, but like not an hour of, I'm busy.
Yeah.
I was trying to get my degree, finish school.
Did you get it done?
Oh, best believe I got it done. And that's where it comes to like this really firm belief I have that when President Nelson asks me to do something, that's coming from God. Mm-hmm. So I'm listening to this man, and he's a man and makes mistakes, asking me to read the Book of Mormon, but my belief is that was coming from God. How do you tell God? No. God, in essence, came down and said, hey, Alyson, will you read the Book of Mormon from now until the end of the year? Mm-hmm. You would never tell God no, and that's where, if they asked us to change, to go to this different way of life or something, it would be hard, but my firm belief is that that's God asking me to do that, and if he asks you to do it, he'll provide a way for you to do it.
That is so tough. Like, I'm lost in my thought because I'm thinking about the people that's been, the people that you probably know that's been there for years. Like, I always say your mom, for example. I don't know. I'm sure she's a great lady. But it's been her and her husband. It's been her and your dad. Like, so, like, I'm thinking about the older people that's been there for a while, and the prophet was to come and say, multiply more wives.
Oh, polygamy? No.
That's what I'm saying.
We wouldn't go back to polygamy.
But you said
that would be weird.
You said if the prophet was to come up with
Yep.
I'm not saying he's coming up with it, but if the guy was to put it back on there,
if he said it, I'd follow it.
At one point, that was what it was.
Yep.
That's what that's what you informed me. And then God said no, and it went.
Yep.
So if God said go back because it was something that he had that he wanted to do, but your whole life you've been this way, how hard would that be?
Oh, that would be so hard. Having said that, I'm not married and I would totally love to be married. So maybe if the men in my life were able to marry multiple people,
But
it would
look,
speed up me getting married.
but you would miss what you're longing for now. I think.
Oh, it would be so hard.
Yeah, you.
And
would
I don't
miss
think that God would. I don't think that
I'm
that's
just
coming
saying,
back just for the record.
But this is just for the podcast.
But it would be
to just
so
say-
hard.
yeah.
But you would do it. I think lots of things that God asks of us are hard. Obviously, not that hard, but there are some church things like I don't know. Not drinking coffee, not drinking alcohol.
Yeah,
Some of those things that
I-
are like little things, but
I know, but
Those
yeah,
would be- that's hard.
Yeah, that's hard. But you could physically do that. Like you can't. This is like telling you to change and like settle for something when like now you're setting yourself up to give your all to someone that's giving you his all, right?
yes.
That's what you've been training. That's what you've been setting up for. Now, if that was the switch and say, give you my all, but you're gonna go and give your all to 5 other different, that would be like I would have to sit there and say, okay, I have to question you on this one, God. Like that would be like something super hard, like super hard.
It would be hard, but I would do it.
That would be tough because
I know, but you gotta revert back and like if you were sitting over here on this side of the couch, that God's asking you to do that.
but God also have you built the way that you are now. Like he's molded you to be this.
I know.
And
But
then
if
they're
God
like,
asked you to do, if God came down right now into this room and asked you to do something, would you even hesitate?
no, I wouldn't.
See?
I wouldn't.
That is how I feel when the prophet asks me to do something.
Okay.
Having
So-
said that, God's not going to ask me
Yeah,
to
God,
start practicing polygamy.
this is just what ifs. I'm just talking podcast talk just
Oh,
to
yeah.
see. Have you ever had a moment to where the prophet gave a direct I wouldn't say order, but he gave a direct revealing of what God was saying to him, and you felt God spoke to you something different?
No,
Never.
never. I've never had that. I've had ones where I don't know that hard would be the right word, but even like this 2-hour church thing, right? No, that's not how we do things. Church is 3 hours long. Everyone knows that about the Mormons. We have long church on Sundays. And I've grown up going to church for 3 hours. And what is this 2-hour thing? Like, that's not how it works. And I just had to, you take a minute and you pray and you say, like, hey, this helped me know,
Yeah.
like, to have greater faith and increased level of faith. And that is how. That's one of the big ones that impacted me directly was missions. And our church is big on missionary work, and we send out missionaries. Traditionally, men have served at the age of 19 is when you can like leave on your mission, and women don't go until 21. And that was just kind of always how it was. Going on a mission wasn't something I thought I was ever going to do. If we're being honest, I wanted to be married by the age of 21 or like, really into school.
Yeah.
Kind of weird people are who served. If you were a sister, a woman who served a mission, it meant you were 21 and you weren't doing anything with your life, that you were free to give up 2 years and go on a mission. So it hadn't been something that like I thought of doing as a teenager. Then in General Conference, they announced women can serve at the age of 19. That changed
Everything.
that would like rocked people's world. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do now? We can go on missions at 19. That's right out of high school. That's totally different than 21 when you're a spinster.
Yeah.
And like, then I had to think like, right, well, wait a minute now. This totally changes my like plan. And then I served a mission. Never probably would have done that if it hadn't been for that. But that was a big one that a lot of people kind of had to like pray and like, whoa. This is coming from the prophet, but knowing for yourself, like that's what God was wanting. And I think that the church wants you to do that. Anytime that like the prophet gives direction, go back, and because we believe we're huge on personal revelation. It's one of the things that the church talks about all the time, that you personally can receive revelation from God about what he wants you to do. So the prophet receives it for the whole church. I don't believe that God would ever give me revelation different from the prophet. But anytime the prophet receives revelation, I like to then go pray and receive that for myself, to just even know for me,
if it's
like a little bit more.
Now, with the two questions, with the church being changed from 2 hours to 3 hours. I mean, from 3 hours to 2 hours. Did you feel? Because like you said, you had been going the whole time for 3 hours. That other hour, you said that the prophet instructed you guys to spend with family, go home. Like, did you feel after the change? Did you feel any incomplete after, leaving a church service for 2 hours? Just like, did you feel like wanting more?
No.
You felt you felt you were still cool with
yeah,
that.
I think God has this great way of, I think, because he knows everything, right? And he has all these amazing plans, and he blesses you tremendously, I think, for doing what I believe he wants you to do or whatever. So we went to church for 2 hours, and that was great. And then I've been so blessed that my family, and it's different, I think, for people who, and it's different being here in Tulsa where I'm just by myself, but my family Skypes together Sunday afternoons at 5 o'clock. My grandparents, my aunts and uncles, my cousins, my second, everyone. And not everyone can make it every Sunday, right? Because sometimes you're flying or driving, and different things obviously get in the way of that. But I know that every Sunday at 5 o'clock, and I did. I was working on Sunday at 5, and I was in a park filming a story, and just took 2 minutes, quick Skyped in, said hi to everybody. And, like, I love to see the way that God, as much as he directs the church, it's not, he didn't tell you exactly what he wanted you to do for that extra hour, and sit down, and I'd like you to be in a circle and start it with prayer, and then sing some hymns and read these scriptures. He says spend it with your family, and everyone now has the ability to kind of do what works best for them. And I love that, like, my grandparents and my cousins, and not all of them are even members of the church. But
you guys come together.
Regardless of that, this wasn't a church thing. This is from Grandpa, and we're getting together as a family, and we get to be together, and I love that. And so I don't feel that I've ever lost an hour of church. I have gained so much more in our hour that we spend on Skype, and I don't normally get the whole hour with them for lots of different reasons.
But I hope like people can circle that part on the podcast. Like, I'm gonna speak directly to the camera, because like, for the family to come together, to take time, to everyone dial in, everyone checks on each other, uncles, cousins, that is like so huge. You know what I'm saying? Because like, the stuff that's in the world that's set up to keep us separated, phones, disagreements, everything that's set up to keep us away from each other is basically, I would say, for with my family, it's successful. It's everybody's like doing their own thing. No one's in touch with each other. So like, to hear that is like so inspiring. So like, man, that it feels good to hear a conversation. Like, I hope I work with you one Sunday just to say, oh, Alyson, it's 5 o'clock. Yo, you guys go do that.
You can join in with us. They'd love that. Here's to what I love. You take those same things that divide us, those phones and those TVs and technology and the internet and whatnot, and then flip it right on its head and use that to bring us together. I'm Skyping them on my phone, and my parents at home broadcast it onto their TV. And those same things that normally keep us from, like, oh, I can't answer my grandparents' phone call right now because I'm really busy on my phone doing whatever I'm doing, but Instagramming probably.
Exactly.
Then we get to take that technology back, and like, instead of it controlling us, we get to control it and use it for great, like, tremendous good. And it's so easy. And I also love, too, you got to prioritize it, right? That happens at 5 o'clock on Sundays, rain or shine.
It happens.
You get to do, I'm in Tulsa. My parents were in our cabin on Sunday when we were doing it. Like, no matter where you are. Because if you waited until you were all free, it would never happen.
It would never happen.
But it's so important that you keep those family relationships and those ties and making that a priority and setting. And I think that's what God wanted when he diminished our church from 3 hours to 2. Was I know that you have 3 hours because you used to spend those 3 hours at church, and take that hour that you've already set aside for me. And instead of being in a church worshiping me, worship me as a family together
and grow strong. Like,
and grow stronger.
do you realize you're dropping jewels? That's what we call them in the black community.
Ooh, I like it.
It's jewels. Like, this is so like valuable information. Like, and it got me thinking. Like you said, take the tools that normally keep us divided and help them bring us together. Like, I hope my family's listening. If they even do check out my podcast, like, you may be different parts away, but like a phone call. And then we sometimes be, oh, that person didn't call me, so I'm not gonna call you. You know how it is. But that was so. I don't even know. We started with the Mormon thing, and it led to that. But that was so informative. Like, that touched me. Like, that was some good stuff.
Okay. I want to add one more smidgen.
Add it.
A
Bring
quick
it on.
tidbit.
No, we're not done. Bring it on.
Oh, good. Okay, this like teasing the stereotype of 10 kids, the big families. That comes because of that right there. Our church, my church, loves families. We're big on families and family things. And for a lot of years, what that came from was then big families, 10-kid families. My mom had 6 in her family, and she will tell us growing up how her family was like the lame family because they only had 6 and everybody else had giant families. So then we get this stereotype, right? The giant vans, like those are the Mormons, a million kids. And it's, first of all, we don't do that anymore, right? I have a family of 4. There are still families with lots of kids, but there are also families with 1 or 2, and that's totally normal in the church. But it just comes, not because we were ever told to have 10 kids or told to have 2, but because we love family and prioritize the family so highly in the church. And a lot of people then in the church, because we're raised and kind of taught with this great love and respect for families,
Do you
had lots of kids.
Yeah, is that part of the plan? Like, do you want a huge family?
It would totally depend. I think I try to stay pretty reasonable and not like want too much because I don't want to like set myself up for disappointment. So I don't, what if I can't even have kids? And then I've spent my whole life, my sister wants 20 kids. She
20?
loves kids. It's not even like physically possible practically, but she's like, oh yeah, I want 20 kids. She loves that.
Oh my God.
I have just always been like, I don't know, what if I can't even have kids? So I try to just keep it like normal.
Does she have kids?
No, she's like,
okay,
what, 14?
Shout out to the young sister that say 20. After your first one, then we'll
see how many you want to have.
Then I want to know how many you want to have after that. 20.
I feel like I'll either be like small, like 2, or big, like 7. But can't you see me like that? Like PTO mom, kids come home after school, I got snacks set up in the counter. We just go to softball practice and then praise ball.
And like, okay, softball practice at 6, baseball's at 7.
Oh
like,
yeah, that sounds so fun. I'll just drive all the carpools.
But what would your life would be dedicated to dropping off these little kids to all these different. See, me and my wife.
Sounds so fun.
Oh my God.
Kid you not, that sounds like a blast.
Hey, wife, baby, we need to let her babysit it and run around and see how it is. No, it is not.
I kid you not, I'll come babysit for you.
It is not fun. Like my wife, like with the daycare and then running, like we don't do it because we made sure that if our kids are not. They don't want to do it, we're not going to put them in something that they want to do because that's going to be our time. And we're still trying to live our life as well.
No, I wasn't raised like that.
Yeah, no. So we're not going to put my son in all these different things if he's not really into it. So whatever he's into, like now he wants to do boxing. So we're trying to do boxing because that's what he's saying he's into. Oh, yeah. I'm not going to put him in nothing that he's going to half-ass it and not really be into it because then that's cutting into my time.
And it's expensive.
It's very expensive.
That stuff costs money.
So we try. Our big thing is pushing passion. Find what you're passionate about, and that's what we're going to drive. The running around and this and no. That's not fun at all because.
But kind of fun.
I would say so, but you look up and they 17, 18, and they gone off living their life, and you look back like, damn, what did I do?
But you got to think, I'm 25 now on Monday. I got no kids yet, not even married yet. So if I had 7 kids now, then I'm gonna be old. I don't know that I want that.
So have one.
Now I might be down to 1 or 2.
Yeah, and that's manageable. Like you can drop off.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, you could drop off little Devin over here, take little Kaylee over there, and you'd be straight. 7. Oh my goodness.
3. I feel like 3 would be a good number.
3 is manageable, depending on the age gap.
We had 4 in my family. 4 was good.
What age? Like, were you guys neck and neck?
No. So what? There's like 3 years between me and Annie. Then her and James are pretty close, I think. I think there's like a year between her and James.
Okay.
And then like maybe 4 between Abby and James.
See, this how we look. This how I look
Like
at
pretty
it.
decently spread out, I feel like.
My son Bubba is 2.
Okay.
Jada, Nas, Juju, much older. So
Oh.
what I do is I use them to be my legs for everything
yes.
that he. So they old enough to hold him down, and it takes a lot. It takes a lot of stress off of me. But
I like it.
you know, you got to have a game plan when you got short. 20 kid. What was your sister's name?
Abby.
Abby. 20. I don't. Hey.
Too many Abs. We've always told her that, though. I think it just comes, and it comes from she loves babies. She loves baby dolls. I don't know that she was getting to like the, oh, yeah, you got to like have the kid, raise the kid, pay for the
Exactly.
kid
Go through everything.
while you got all the other kids.
Yeah, and they don't go away. Like they're there all the time, grabbing on your leg and
Having said that, what? One of the first great commandments, multiply and replenish the earth. You got to be replenishing.
I understand.
I think there needs to be a net gain.
I take it back. Yeah, I understand that. I have to get out of the mindset of thinking being single, out dating, having multiple. No. If it's in the right plan, the woman that you're going to spend the man that you're going to spend the rest of your life
That's
with,
true.
the family structure that it needs to be, okay, great. But when you just out here just shooting bullets and just, you know what I'm saying? It's me speaking from
don't
experience.
be doing that.
Yeah, it's not the way the way that it is now. Married, raising a kid together, seeing my son laying in the bed like right here, looking over, seeing mama, looking over, seeing daddy. Like that's so that's great. Let's put it that way. So that I can see that, but I don't know about 20, Abby. I don't know about 20. That's freaking insane.
Yeah, that would be.
But I don't know. I feel like we had an enlightened conversation about.
I know. Any other stereotypes I'm trying to think of? We're more normal than you think. I guess you could maybe. You've hung out with me a lot.
Yes.
I'm a little bit weird in my own accord.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Oh, let's talk about the McGee moment.
Oh, yeah, the McGee moment.
So, I mean, we work together. We're like in a car all day working. Shooting.
Let's remind him of what you thought I was going to be like.
I thought she was, I literally thought she was gonna sit. You know how some people that's like how you drive with your seat all the way out. I thought she was gonna be on the passenger seat.
I like to sit very upright when I am driving.
So when she's driving, this is the first
I sit very.
So I thought she was gonna be on the passenger side seat, sitting all the way up there, just looking straight. She wouldn't even turn this way. And if I ask a question, she'll do like this, yes, and then turn right back. Just be in this whole little bubble zone and all. I thought it was gonna be super awkward. And so I have all this in my head because of what I thought Mormons was until I met her, and she started to drop the knowledge on me. And when I first met you, hey, how are you doing? This 3:30 in the morning. I'm like,
oh yeah, I'm a perky morning person.
Very, very perky. And
no coffee.
Had it been Sean from the old job, like I hated the mornings. I hate getting up, going to work at 3. I hated it. But now I love my job. I love what I do. So getting up is a lot easier. So I'm okay to the perkiness of her in the morning. But first thing, hey, how you doing? I'm Alyson. Welcome to the. I'm like, hey, what's going on? You know, I'm trying to fill her out, thinking, okay, that's not how it was. So we worked together a couple of times, and I was just like, she's super cool. She's thoughtful. She's funny. She's educated. And then we was driving in the car, and I think you was listening to Benjamin. I think that's his name, Benjamin.
Barnes Courtney.
Oh, Barnes Courtney. I don't know why.
Sean always calls him Benjamin, and it's my favorite thing. His new album came out on Friday.
What was the name of it?
It's fantastic.
What's
404.
404. Shout out to
Barnes Courtney.
Barnes Courtney.
Good old Barnaby.
Barnaby. See, I think that's why I think Benjamin, because you was calling him Barnaby.
So I was calling him Barnaby.
And so we was listening to Barnaby, and I just was like, Barnaby, okay, he's cool. Like, now we're going to listen to some of my music. So I was kind of, I listen to all kinds of music. I'm a hip-hop guy. I love music. So I'm like, what can I play? And I got this Mormon chick. What can I play that I don't want to, her to be like, I don't want to work for Sean no more. I'm done. So I started playing some music, and she was like, oh, I like this. And I was playing that common beat. And she's like, oh, I like this. Then we got to Claremore High School, and it was a playlist. It was just a playlist of random songs. And she started, every song that came on, she started to rap. And I was like, hold on. How do you know this song? She's like, oh, I like this song. I'm like, okay. And then Eminem's Rap God came in. How did that come into the conversation?
Well, because Eminem Lose Yourself came on.
Oh,
and I could rap that one.
Yeah.
And you told me, I remember this. I'm real proud.
Yeah.
Sean goes, wow, you like actually can rap that song. And I told him, Sean, I'm more normal. I told you I could rap. And he goes, no, but not just you know the words to this song, but you can you got the beat down and whatnot. And I said, if you thought that one was good, I can rap Rap God. And you did not believe me.
Not at all. I said,
Straight
no
up
way.
pulled it up on his phone. He was like, no way, I'm pulling this up.
No way. And I can't even rap that song. It was one of those songs to where I liked it, but I said, I'm not going to listen to this to try to, no, I'm done. And soon as it came on, like, y'all got to understand, like, rapping, it's so much, it's a lot that goes to it. So, like, not just ba 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 ba, ba 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 ba, and to say one word out of the whole bar. She was literally saying the whole bar, going to the next one, saying, like, she literally Rap God, like a rapper. And so I'm sitting there looking at her like, that more this isn't the Mormon girl that I thought I was finna be working with. So that was the McGee moment, and I said, okay, this is like
and now we're buds.
Now we're buds. And we're like supposed to do a video with her rapping it, but she gotta get her lyrics and stuff together. But
you know.
That was
you got the
McGee
one
moment.
of the other song though.
I don't think I have that.
Yeah, huh? You have a video of me rapping some song in the car. But we're more normal than, like, I think people, like, put off. And I think there are a lot of things that, like, why people think that about us, right? That we don't swear, and because of the religious clothing that we wear, we tend to, you know, dress pretty modestly, and we don't drink alcohol or coffee, but we don't do a lot of the things that other people do that then they're like, oh, yeah, she's that very. In the church, we call them Molly Mormons. And since we can't use the word Mormon anymore, I don't know if we'll keep calling them that. But currently we call them Molly Mormons. And those are the ones that are the very much like.
Wow.
Yes. And we just had it was a lovely day. They use that voice that like drives me up a wall. But for the most part, and to their own accord, having said that, they're just trying to follow God the best that they can. And I think that's what everyone's trying to do. But we get this rap of being like those people because of some of the ways that we live. But like, I can rap God and edit out all of the swear words myself and be totally normal and good at that. And Sean said it was good, so I'm holding him to that.
Cooler than the guys that throw all the cuss words sitting and do all that. So I was just like, wow. It was very enlightening. That's why I was like, even once we started to have that conversation when you was breaking down all the different parts of the religion and
Plan of salvation.
Yeah, you got to break it.
We had some good Plan of Salvation talks in the car.
It was like, okay, this is interesting. But another thing, though, and I really wanted to have her on here to talk to her. Amanda's perspective on it is pretty interesting. We have to have Amanda
the church,
on the church, on religion, on spirituality.
Oh, she doesn't like my church. Can I say that on the podcast? We'll just give you a little preface.
Anything goes on it, but we always respectful. I think. I talked with her. I wouldn't say she doesn't like it. She has questions. Like, she has questions about it. I wouldn't say she didn't like it. She was just like, but what about this? But what about that? Like, she had a lot of questions, and I'm like, I'm not, you know.
I just know Alyson.
Yeah, I don't know, but she had a lot of questions, and she was real confident in the way that she thought and felt, and she was just wanting answers.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, man, it would be good to have your perspective, Alyson's perspective, and then my perspective, all just sit and have the podcast and talk about it and see, not to try to sway one person one way, but just to see.
To join knowledge.
That's all it is.
Drop some jewels.
That's all it is. And I should have had her. Maybe on part 2, we do another part and have.
Oh, yeah. You're not done with me yet, everybody. Sounds like I'm coming back.
Hey, we're going to book her again. Hopefully, I got to get these this couch off of the bricks because she was like, oh, my God.
Wait, who, me?
I'm just playing.
I was not, and we have video evidence of, I didn't even notice The quote unquote wobbly couch.
Because they sitting on some bricks. You know, anybody want to donate a couch?
You can put a couch that sits on bricks that's not wobbly though.
I know,
I feel
but
like you
I
have your
picked
bricks positioned weird.
No, if you look at the bricks, you'll see why. I picked the wrong kind of bricks. I should have got some bigger ones.
It's because that back brick is fallen. I want the record to show that the leg of the couch on the back right-hand side has fallen off of the brick, and that is why it's wobbly.
But
you said it's because of the bricks, but it's not because of the bricks. It's because it fell off the brick.
Look how
I'll
small,
fix it when we're done.
Look how small they are. And once you get them moving, you're going to shift them off of it every time. Ladies and gentlemen,
they're
I'm
perfectly
so glad.
adequate for what he needs them.
I'm so glad to do this podcast for y'all. I had a lot of fun talking with Alyson. We're going to do another part, and we're going to send a special shout out to Amanda. Hopefully, we can get her down here to share her points, some of the good points that she was bringing up. And she has some good points.
She does.
She really did. So I'm your host, Sin, Life, Music, and everything else. My guest.
Wait, your name is Sin?
Yeah, that was my rap name and my podcast name. So I
want a cool name. And I'm Alley Cat.
How did I know you was gonna say that? How did I know you was gonna say that? No, you have to.
We gotta come up with a better one.
Alley Cat. No, you have to come up with a better one.
I'm the AC, bringing the cool. It's like the heat, but it's opposite.
The AC. We're gonna stop right there. We're gonna. You know what? That's something. Everyone that comes on get a podcast name.
Okay.
I think that'd be cool. We have to come up with one. Anyway, maybe next time on part 2, she'll have a podcast name. So when I put it up, when I edit this podcast and I put it up, that'll be our podcast name. So we have to ponder over something.
Okay, we'll ponder on something.
So thanks so much for everybody to tune in. I appreciate y'all so much. Hopefully
have a great day.
Have a great day. Yeah, give them all that perky stuff.
Yeah, a tremendous day.
Tremendous day. Hopefully something was enlightening to you, especially the family part. I know that's what I got. And that's what this podcast is about. Uplifting, motivating, pushing people, encouraging people. And that's what we're going to continue to do. All right? Peace out. Thanks so much, Alyson.
Woot woot.
Oh, yeah, that was woot woot.